acting with compassion, reason, and respect, empowering us to promote a just society. I acknowledge here that in the CSRA, we reside on the lands of the Westo people, the Savannah Shawnees and the Oki peoples of the Muskogee Confederacy. My name is Reverend Nick Filson. My pronouns are he, him, and today I was really fortunate to create and will continue creating today's worship with Chris Garcia, musician Robin Macy, and all of you. We are all creating this moment together. I see several orange name tags this morning, which is always a great thing. We know that those orange name tags mean that you are visiting us this morning. And if you are a visitor, we'd love to have you join us in the common room for some coffee and some good cookies after the service. I also would love if you would be willing to fill out a blue card in the seat pocket in front of you and give it to the greeters as you exit. That'll allow us to stay in touch really well going forward. And whether you're here for the first time or the 1000th, I sincerely hope you get what you need today. I have a few community highlights to share with y'all. First, everyone is invited to our Thanksgiving meal, which this will be the last time I announce it because that's this Thursday. If you're interested in joining us for some great food and community, please fill out the sign-up sheet linked through the last few e-announcements on Realm, or follow the tiny URL that you see there on the screen, UUCA Thanks 22. Anybody is welcome, even if this is your first day. If you're looking for some folks to hang out with and enjoy some good food, please join us this coming Thursday. Our annual Hanging of the Greens will be this coming Saturday, November 26th. Anybody who is willing to help kind of make this into a more festive Yuletide Christmas holiday feeling space, please join us here at 11 a.m. this Saturday. We'll have some homemade cider to share, but if folks want to bring other seasonal treats, you're more than invited to do so. I probably won't say no. As in years past, our congregation will be helping community agencies provide Christmas gifts for their clients. This year, we are working with child enrichment. We'll have the list of ages and requests soon. I'm not sure, Jan, if we have that already or not, but if we don't, we'll get that out to y'all soon and let you know how you can help. The gifts will need to be collected by December 9th to make sure that we can get them to the folks who need them in time. In alignment with today being International Trans Day of Remembrance, we are announcing an important event here at UUCA on December 10th at 7:30 p.m. entitled On the Path Toward Loving Our Trans Kin More Fully. It'll be an affirming panel discussion, and the panelists will include Marcia and Aiden Azumi, a mother and son who are co-authors of a wonderful book called Two Spirits, One Heart, a book that tells the story of how Marcia, the mother, was able to adjust her own expectations, transform herself to be more loving of her trans child. We'll also have several youth from a local gay-straight alliance share their experiences as gay and trans youth right now in this moment of history. This event is co-sponsored by the Pastoral Care Team here, the Metropolitan Community Church, and the Progressive Religious Coalition, which many of us are involved with and that Andy Reese is the president of. So we're happy to present that to folks and to this area. The holidays are not always joyful for everyone. In fact, they may be a source of grief, sadness, and loneliness for some. If you'd like to spend some somber time with each other's valid, afflicting emotions, please put Blue Christmas in your calendars on December 14th at 7 p.m. There'll be a worship service that the Pastoral Care Team puts on as they do each year. And if you know others who might benefit from this pastoral service, please invite them. Everyone's welcome. Really importantly, and we'll be doing some rollout of this real soon, mirroring the work that the UUA Article 2 Commission has been doing, the UUCA Board and Committee on Shared Ministry have been working on a new covenant for UUCA since August, several months, and we're really excited about what has emerged in that shared process. In the coming week and months, there will be many opportunities for you to engage with this new sacred defining promise that we're creating together of how we plan to be with each other. culminating in a vote to adopt it at our mid-year meeting in January. Please keep an eye out for the new covenant language. I think you'll really find it warming and affirming, and I hope that you'll engage with the process of adopting it. One final note, speaking of the UUA nominating committee has put Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt forward as the next association president. This is a fantastic choice, and I personally am super excited to see how we, as a faith, continue to transform and become in the years to come through her leadership. And speaking of transforming and becoming and transcending our previous selves, let us now enter into worship, fully into worship, where we express and embody this ongoing process of becoming, while we have a tremendous say in how that process emerges. Let us now worship.
Good morning. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change.
As we sing our opening hymn, hymn 1010, Give Thanks.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks. Look at this slide. As we become for time of wonder, joy and fun, for all we give as we grow and live. Oh, we give thanks as we become.
Hello, my name is Marika Bhattacharya, and I'm a member of your pastoral care team, in particular representing the congregation's strong support of those like myself who have mental health challenges. This part of the service, we are able to share the joys and concerns that are shaping our lives, and we can do it in person because of the small community that we represent. So I'd like to invite those who would like to share a joy or concern to come up.
We're being introduced to Simba, who we find out is a really important character, that he's going to have a big impact on the story of his life. But you know what? All of us are a Simba, right? We all have a huge impact on our own stories, on the circle of life, that we are imperative to the story. and that our first principle talks about the worth and dignity of each person, and each of you has tremendous worth for your own story and for our shared story together. With that, I'm going to send you off, if you'd like, to go continue your faith formation with your faith formation focusers as we sing it all out. We got to wait. As you go, may you grow. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go. It is awesome hearing so many kids' voices and seeing so many kids. What a joy this morning. Now is the moment in our service where we connect deeply with what we're feeling right now, when we reflect on the things that are happening in our world, some of which we celebrate and some of which we mourn in a big way. And I hope that as we do that, that we can also just connect with our bodies, connect with the space around us, be as present as possible, and that includes to the emotions that emerge and that you experience as we move through this time. With that, I invite you to close your eyes if you'd like, or fold your hands if you'd like, whatever helps you feel most comfortable and most grounded. Ever created and creative spirit of love that moves through and around us. Ongoing process of becoming that we are integral to. This process of moving toward beloved community, transcending that which we've been, becoming something new, something different, nonetheless full of worth, full of dignity. And I thank that spirit in this room. I thank everyone who embodies that spirit in this room for all the joys that are in my life, all the fortunes in my life, in our lives. Immense gratitude for the experience of living with one another, the experience of love. There are certainly things, specific things that we can celebrate, small things, big things, things that we've been involved with. Celebrate the reconnection of old friends and family. Celebrate the ability to stay engaged with one another even if we can't be in the same physical space. We celebrate all technology that helps to connect us. We celebrate this crisp fall morning in this circle of the year, this circle of life. We celebrate in a very big way reproductive rights being affirmed in every state in which it was on the ballot in our recent elections. A sign that the tremendous efforts to get out the vote across the country in solidarity with our justice accomplices and in service of love were effective. They remain effective. I certainly feel empowered to continue promoting justice. Also, similarly, I celebrate a federal judge recently overturning the restrictive abortion law here in Georgia. That may not be the end of the fight. It won't be the end of the fight. And yet, we're seeing hints of justice emerge amidst some real fear. I personally celebrate the nomination of Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt as the next UUA president, a person I admire tremendously as a theologian, as a leader, as a minister. And as we celebrate these things, as we experience moments of celebration, we also grieve. We have things to mourn, things that cause sorrow. The massacre at an LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs last night, killing at least 5 and injuring at least 18 more. This on the eve of the Transgender Day of Remembrance. It's hard not to feel like it was purposeful. And this day, Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day that recognizes how trans folks' bodies are victims of violence so often. Before last night, 32 trans people were murdered in the U.S. this year, a tremendously high number in comparison to other identities. And as we grieve these things, as we mourn the loss of these blessed souls, we also see progress in this country. We see 62 senators voting to affirm gay marriage, something that was unimaginable 20 or even 10 years ago. We move through this space experiencing all the experiences, all the feeling, all the emotions that life has to give us. And we do so together. And that's where the strength comes. That's how we really adjust and bump and move this circle of life, this ever ongoing dynamic process of nature toward justice, toward beloved community, toward one in which we are all whole and recognized as the sacred beings that we are. Blessed be and amen.
Last couple of weeks, I've been hearing about something called the generative story or the generative narrative. And it doesn't mean generational. Generative means like it's becoming. It's being generated right now. You know, we heard about the killings last night. We hear a lot about the catastrophes and the potential catastrophes that are coming every day, but the thing that you don't always hear about is the ordinary and abundant growth that's happening among other people, the people who don't make the news, the growth in education, the breakthroughs, the innovations, the constant evolution in social change and human change that is going on all around right now, all over the world. The innovations in technology that have linked us together, that have become just so normal that we can't imagine that there was ever a time we didn't have internet or smartphones or any of these things. We're at a time of tremendous transformation where marginal groups that have always been put down are finally having a chance to tell their own story and to find their own place in society. And the human experience is becoming more complex. A wife showing gratitude to her husband for standing by her during hard times. A daughter looking forward to seeing her father in a little while. If that's not God, what is? Whatever your notions of God or what God is or is not, or whatever you think of yourself, we are not human beings having a divine experience or hoping for a divine experience. You are God right now, here. You are God having a human experience. You are God as a part of the human journey. And we are all having that journey together. And aren't you lucky to have so many companions to share with and support you in spirit on that journey? We need to take care of that. And now's your chance to do that. Will the ushers, if any, please come forward? That's an act of faith every Sunday. Is this on? This is different.
Before we get started today in our sermon in dialogue, I'm just going to repeat the first words that Chris said for the chalice lighting, which are the first words we read in the Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. So as we get started, Chris, I want to give a couple definitions and caveats.
Yeah,
so
we need that.
that folks kind of can be fully present with what we are going to discuss. First of all, when we use the word God, we're using God language. Basically, at least what I mean by that is that which is most ultimate and that which is most intimate. So others folks maybe use different language for that thing, which is kind of encompasses that. But oftentimes, God does become a quick shorthand for that. I also want to name that we've mentioned two theologies this morning, queer theology and religious naturalism. And I think that it's important that we name, first of all, what theology even means. I think a lot of folks believe that it's the pure etymological thing of God talk, or the study of God. But it also can be meant as a systematic process that kind of helps to define and ground whatever belief system or faith system that most grounds you. So theology is a systematic working of what helps to center us in our spiritual lives. I also want to talk about the word queer a little bit. Chris, you want to name a little of the two definitions that we know about for queer theology?
Yeah, I didn't know there was such a thing as queer theology until we started planning this out. There's a lot of theologies that I didn't even know were out there because they're new. Queer theology, women's theology. The thing that I came to understand about queer theology is that first you have to move away from the idea of queer as a noun and start thinking of it as a verb. We always think of LGBTQ people as an identity, which it kind of is, but also what is really challenging about being LGBTQ is that it blurs the lines of what we've been told things ought to be. So in religion, you've heard me say this before, you have basically two kinds of religion. The exoteric or external religion, which is very often dualism or dialectical dualism. Mind and body have a problem with each other. God and Satan have a problem with each other, and so on. So
there's an inherent separation between two things, binary.
A binary separation
Yeah.
between things that says this is good and anything outside of this is not good. Dualism, which is basically mysticism, and I identify myself as a dualistic Christian, a non-dualistic Christian. Non-dualistic Christian. So I don't see things in terms of dualism. My whole definition of God is different. So queering is about blurring those lines. When I saw the people up there singing, I thought these are all good people. These are all very decent people, and a lot of them are a lot happier than people who are dualistic. They're seeing the world differently, even though that world does not always welcome them.
And that's the main definition of queer theology with which we're going to wrestle today. And queer theology is an important theology of folks who do recognize themselves as Christian, and they basically say that as queer theologians that they're Christians who accept and affirm LGBTQ people. So that is an important definition, but the one we're going to work with today is the one that Chris just aptly named. And alongside that, we're also going to wrestle with religious naturalism. And like this feels like a whole lot of different concepts kind of being thrown into one, which is kind of what life is. But they really do connect profoundly, as we'll talk about in a few moments. But religious naturalism is essentially an offshoot of something we we call process theology, which is really just naming that that nature, that all that there is constantly in a dynamic process of becoming, of changing, and that the difference between that and something that's more akin to philosophical naturalism is that we make meaning of that large story of becoming. And that's where religious naturalism is a little bit unique from philosophical naturalism.
When you mention religious naturalism, I think, when I think of religion in general, I mean like ancient religion, going back like forever, it seems to me that most of religion is about trying to solve one problem, and that is the problem of not being able to control what happens to you. Most of what happens to you, in fact, most of what you're thinking from minute to minute is out of your reach, One of the big discoveries for me when I got interested in meditation was the realization that you are not what you think. That doesn't sound right, but if you get
say more, because I'm not comfortable with it yet, but help me get there.
Okay, well, when you meditate, they give you a thing to do. You got your mantra, or your breathing. You got some little ball to bounce that you're supposed to be paying attention to, and what happens is your mind goes somewhere else, and that always happens. It's the nature of the mind. And then you think, then what you realize after a while is that thing that you're thinking about at that moment, it's got nothing to do with what you're doing. I'll bet most of you sitting here in this room are thinking about something that has nothing to do with what you're doing right now. You're probably thinking about what you're going to eat, or who you're mad at, or who you've got to meet, or why this person isn't here. No. So much of non-dualistic religion is about just trying to shut up, and just be here.
And is that process, is that are you suggesting that becoming aware of that is a clearing of the thing? How does that connect with our conversation today?
Well, you think about dualism.
Mm-hmm.
You think about queer, all right? I don't know about you, but I never had any talk with my dad about it's going to be kid, boys or girls. It's not like choosing a college or something. I just realized at a very young age that girls were awesome. And I never changed my mind about that. It was not a moral decision. And I think that's where Christianity comes into a problem with queerness, because they're treating it like a moral decision. It's no more a moral decision than being black or white or anything else that you had nothing to do with.
So you're saying that the existence of LGBTQ people, particularly trans folks or gender expansive folks, as it were, is proof that there is that dualism is in fact flawed?
I think it is. So why do you think people don't see it that way? What is the comfort of dualism?
It's more control.
Okay. And maybe that's what people want. You want to feel like you're in control of things, even if you're not. And Buddhism, mysticism in general, is one of the universal tenets of mysticism in general. You're not in control of things, and you have to find some way to adjust yourself to that.
So I think if we move it into a religious naturalist kind of language, that the universe, nature, all that is really, really complex. More so than we can ever imagine, to the smallest bits of it to the largest bits of it. And every minute, every moment that we experience is just filled with myriad causes and effects that we can't possibly fully comprehend. That process is going on forever and ever. Where that intersects with queer theology is that we do, in fact, have some power in that process. We have agency. We can't just let the flow be what it is and let other people get harmed from it. We have the responsibility to add love to that flow.
So you talk about love, and you talk about the expanding universe and how things are changing. The I think, I think where queer theology reaches that is the insight that what all things in existence have in common is that they are relational. It's all about relationships. My day job, I do a lot of troubleshooting of technology, all right? And people have the wrong idea about technology. They think that technology is about parts or wires or chips. It's about relationships. It's all about relationships between systems. And I think on a human level, you see that in its most complex. I think God is about relationships. You know, you and I were talking about the Trinity. That might be a trigger word for some people here. You know, Unitarianism is essentially a rebellion against the Trinity. But the non-dual way of looking at the Trinity is that it's about the generation of energy and the exchange of energy between different standards of relationship. And LGBTQ, it queers that in the sense that it's rubbing away the lines that separate. If you see it as being, you know, God, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, or God, man, and woman, then you're seeing it in a dualistic way, as if these things should not be connected. Queering, though, and relational religion, you know, naturalism, is seeing that as they are not separate. They are part of the same thing.
They're interdependent.
Interdependent.
Which is one of the core tenets of Unitarian Universalism, is that we are both separate and very much connected.
That's right.
Simultaneously.
In Buddhism, you know, they have this idea of emptiness, which is really about connection. Emptiness is not about being a zombie. It's not about emptying yourself out so that you lose your humanity. Emptiness is simply saying, you did not create yourself. You are the result of everything that came before and everything that's here right now and everything that came after.
And you're the result of the stuff that you've done.
Yeah. And
so,
that's been done to you.
And that's where that opening phrase from Parable of the Sower is so important, is that all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. That there is this relational process of change that that asks of us to have an important role in this ongoing thing of nature, which is quite complex.
Well, if you think that all that changes, all that you change changes you, then that's very empowering. That means you have some authority over who you are and who you become. So if all that you change changes you, then that means that you are a part of what is transformative around you. And therefore, in my opinion, the belief system that you want is the one that's going to give you the most harmony or peace with the fact that you are going to change and you're going to change the things around you. I guarantee, even though you've been together, how long you've been together, Andy and Alice? 57 years. You know what? If I had met you 57 years ago and you were getting married and you were being happy, I would say 10 years from now, you're going to be in love with somebody else, no matter what. All you people married, 10 years from now, you're going to be in love with somebody else. Because even if you stay together, the person that you're with 10 years from now is going to be somebody else. Because they're going to change.
That brings in a whole new notion of polyamory that I hadn't considered.
See? So suddenly being queer doesn't look so bad. See? Because it's not a moral decision. It's not a moral decision. It just is.
And there's tremendous power in it. And I think that for me, I personally hold religious naturalism and queer theology to be like the two kind of core systematic belief systems that kind of ground me, that move me forward in this life, that give me the most opportunity for grace and love for myself and for others. Acknowledging that in this complexity, this existence of both and happening simultaneously all the time, that we are indeed, by our mission statement says that we are empowered to promote justice, that we live in a way that acknowledges that things are going to be and continue and sometimes difficult, sometimes tragic. And we have power individually and certainly together as a community to move things toward love, toward beloved community, which is at the core of our mission statement, that we are here to create beloved community. We don't get to do all of that work. There's a whole lot of universe around us that's going to impact that process. And we do so nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And I think there could be way more conversation about this, which we will do at about 12:30 today. If y'all want to come back and have a little bit of talk back, I'll moderate that conversation. Because obviously this is such a complex subject that it could go on forever and ever. Chris and I have already had about 3 hours of discussion about this, where we just talk. Believe me, we're keeping it short. So, with that, we'll go on to our final hymn, and then we'll hopefully see you at 12:30 for a little more discussion.
Yep.
Please rise, Spirit, for our closing hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth, hymn 21.
To sound and sight, source of all, to thee we raise this, our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light, source of all, to thee we raise this, our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all, to thee we raise this, our hymn of grateful praise. God is power.
Infinite.
Irresistible.
Inexorable.
Indifferent.
And yet, God is pliable.
Trickster.
Teacher.
Chaos.
Clay.
God exists to be shaped.
God is change.